Hello, Dan here. Today I want to give you some tips on sitting. Sitting is a very foundational thing. It is a very basic thing that we do as humans. And so it's something that's worthwhile to make sure we are doing well, doing in a way that supports our physical integrity, doing in a way that supports our well-being. So the first tip I'm going to have for you is simply to sit forward in your chair, right? So many of us, as we sit, we probably just sit sort of leaned back very comfortably, and that's fine for relaxing. We're talking about sitting with integrity, sitting with intention here. So my first tip is going to be simply to move towards the front of your chair, which is going to remove the support and it's going to force you to hold yourself upright. Now, as we sit upright, our most of the weight of our body and of the force of gravity should be moving down through our bones, and so sitting upright, we want to be an act of ease. It should not be super challenging for most of us, because most of the weight will pass down through the bones, and so the muscles are actually just playing a supporting role. They're actually just sort of holding everything together. They're not super contracted. So with that, I will invite you to sort of get rid of the idea of sitting up straight. You know, I think a lot of times when we think about sitting up straight, we force our shoulders back, we thrust our chest forward, and it's not a position of ease. It is a position of extraneous effort. And so we want to be as much ease as we can. Now, if we're used to sort of slouching down all the time, it's going to take a little bit of muscular effort, a little bit of concentration to bring ourselves upright. But once we do that, we can just ask ourselves, is there anything I can ease up on a little bit here? Is there some place I can relax a little bit? My next tip for you will just be in regards to standing and sitting. A position of strength in the legs is going to be thighs parallel to the feet, so your knees sort of pointing out towards the second or middle toe, and knees over ankles. So once we sit down, we may choose to move our legs as we see fit, but for standing and sitting, knees over ankles, thighs parallel to feet is going to be a position of strength and make the act of rising, the act of sitting, much easier for us. The next tip, and maybe the most important takeaway from this, is I want you to check in with what's in contact with your seat. So we want our sit bones up under here, our sit bones and our pelvic floor to be in contact with our chair rather than our sacrum, our coccyx. If you think about your four-legged friends, they don't typically sit on their tails, right? Tails typically extend out behind, which again is going to be a position of structural integrity where the spine is going to be stacked as it was designed to be, and so the weight of the body is going to be passing down through that spine. And so when we're slouched like this, it's actually going to take more physical, more muscular effort to hold us upright than when we're sitting on our sit bones. With this, it can be very helpful to prop ourselves up a little bit. So this is a meditation cushion. It's filled with buckwheat hulls, which is great for this purpose. You can also use a softer cushion, a pillow. You can use a rolled up towel. You can use a stack of books, a yoga block. A 2x4 will do the trick. Sitting up on something is going to help with the action of tilting this pelvis forward, right? So our pelvis tilts forward, we move on to our sit bones, our tail extends behind us, and we are able to sit upright with a bit more ease. Now, my next tip for you is going to be, as we fatigue, as we no longer want to support ourselves, or if supporting yourself is not available to you, if holding yourself upright is not something you can do unsupported, as we move to the back of our chair, I think it can be really nice sometimes, you don't have to do this all the time, but it can be really nice to introduce a little bolster underneath your shoulder blades. So this is a 4-inch foam roller. Again, you can also use a rolled up towel, a rolled up shirt, a rolled up blanket. And this gives you another point to sort of support yourself in an upright position. So as you sit back, it can be sort of easy again to just sort of lounge, to relax into it. Even if you're up on your sit bones, the low back is sort of easy to just sort of push back into that support. And so this, I'm not doing it, I don't put it down here on my lumbar spine, I actually do it on my thoracic spine, but this gives me another point to sort of extend up out of, and it supports me in sitting upright and allows me to sit upright for a little bit longer, allows my spine to have a little bit more length in it. And the positioning of this bolster, you may want to play around with. Some of you may like it a little bit higher, some may like it a little bit lower. If you're sitting for long periods of time, you may want to move it up and down as you sit. It's important to recognize that everybody is different, that if you are improving your physical form, your body is going to change over time. So how you sit today may look very different than how you sit next week, next month, next year. And you really have to honor and listen to your body. So if anything I said doesn't sound right, doesn't feel right to you, don't do it, right? And if anything anybody else tells you about your posture doesn't feel right, don't do it. You have to do what feels right for you in this moment in time. So happy sitting, everybody. This is going to be a good position that we may meditate in. This, so if you're following along in this video series, we will actually be doing a meditation, a seated meditation in this position, interoceptive Vipassana meditation, which will be my following video. So I hope you all found some insight in this, and if you have any questions, let me know. Talk to you soon.